And I'm not, no shade, but you notice a lot of black men love overweight white women. And these are white women that white men don't want. What's up, taters? This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. Welcome to my channel, Just Tree 411. I apologize for not having a scripted video for you all yesterday, which was Monday. I know Mondays are my scripted video days. They always are. And this video that I did, it had a lot of research to it. I had to do a lot of investigation work, a lot of research to it. And you guys know, as a former police officer, one of my best, skills, superpowers is that I'm really good at investigation. I'm really good at doing background checks and doing a lot of research. And I had to do a lot of research for this past video. And hopefully I should have it ready for you later on today. It is now with my editor, so my apologies for that. But I'm making up to you with this extra video. You get bonus material. See, Mondays are always descriptive video days. Wednesday and Friday are my live streams, which starts at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays and Thursdays will have maybe some content, maybe some, Q&A or whatever type of videos that I'm going to do, like a response video. And Saturdays are our guy candy video. You ladies really love those. So that was going to be like every Saturday. So there you have it. So yeah, like I said, once my video editor give me that video, I will upload it as soon as possible. So let's enjoy this content that I have for you today. This is from a sociologist who is an expert on black women dating white men. And I was given this video several weeks ago, but I only had the time to do a response video to it now. So this was submitted to me by Sheila. She had asked me if I could do a response video on a live stream. I decided to turn this into a particular video. And so let's watch it together. I watched a little bit of it, so I thought, okay, this seems to be something I can get into. And as you all know, I support interracial dating. I do not believe that you should reside yourself or be exclusive to one race. That's just crazy. But I also don't believe you should put down one race in support of another. So I don't believe black men should put down black women in support of white women, and vice versa. I don't believe that black women should put down black men in support of white men. I don't believe in all that whole thing of leveling up, diversify, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't believe that you should put down people for another. It's not the race, it's the character of the person. So there you have it. So anyway, let's look and see what my response is to this particular video.
A professor at Northwestern University explores these relationships in a new book called Interracial Relationships Between Black Women and White Men. And joining us now is the author, Cheryl Giudice, who is also a sociologist and adjunct faculty member in Northwestern.
She looks like she's biracial, by the way. Is she married to a white man? Darn, I should have done some research before I even got to this point. I didn't even think about looking into her background to see if she's married to a white. Well, she has to. If you're saying you're an expert and you wrote a book about interracial dating and being very specific to black women to white men, I mean, clearly you have to talk about this because you're currently doing this. But I don't want to have this hunt me in the future. So let me do a quick check to make sure that's the case. So what's her name, by the way? Let's see. Okay, her name is Cheryl Giudice. Okay, so let me see.
5 minutes later.
Okay, I have done my research and oh boy. See, this is why I don't take you people seriously, and I don't want to have anything to do with anybody from the BC. Your standards, you guys' standards are so low. You don't need anybody to have any credibility to listen to them, okay? This is why nobody takes you seriously, okay? It's almost like these men, no, almost. This right here is exactly what's going on in the manosphere. You have men who are married, but they're telling you not to get married. You have men who are paying women to be on their shows. And then you also have these men who have kids and they're talking about they don't deal with they deal with women that at, what do you call it? They're ranking at number 9 and they are fat and 50 years old and white. And it's like, the hypocrisy. Oh my God, this woman. Y'all don't nobody from the black, no, don't send me no more stuff like this, please. Because you guys, you don't have the intelligence to look into people. You just believe them at face value. Well, this woman has wrote only 2 books about specific interracial dating between black women and white men. Okay. Specifically about this. These are her 2 books right here. You see this? The only 2 books she has written. And these are the books that she thinks she's an expert on. But there's one thing wrong. When I looked at her bio, it states that she resides in Evanston, Illinois with her husband. Her husband's name is Hecky Powell. Now, with a name like Hecky Powell, I was like, well, that's got to be white. I don't know no black person named Hecky Powell. Wrong. Y'all want to see what Hecky look like? Let's look at Hecky. Let me show y'all Hecky. This is Hecky. This is Hecky and her. Okay? This is her husband. How are you an expert on interracial dating when you don't interracially date? This has always been her husband, okay? They've been married for the last 30-something years. She's never dated a white guy, but yet still, holy smokes, but yet still, she got 2 books, her only 2 books, where she said, I studied how interracial dating between black women and white men. I don't care. Listen, I can study how to be a millionaire, but I cannot teach it because guess what? I have never been a millionaire and I'm not a millionaire. It's like the homeless trying to teach you how to master real estate and they never sold a house in their life and they never owned one. I mean, how is she credible? How is she credible to sit up here and write these books if she was in school? Really? Because she was in school. She doesn't even know anything. She doesn't even have any personal experience on interracial dating. And just in case you low IQ people come into my my comment section telling me something, she don't have to. All she got to do is study it. Yes. Let me tell you something. You have to speak from experience if you're going to call yourself an expert. Okay? It's just like these old clowns in the manosphere talking about they can get these beautiful women that they rank as 9s and 10s, but they're married to fat, white, ugly, wrinkled up, dog-faced women that are at a level 2.5 or -1 or something like that. I don't know, but it's like, how could you speak from something and say you're an expert and you've never even done this? So already this woman doesn't even have any credibility with me. Let's get this over with, Deuce. I'm sorry, God. This is not going to work out in your
University's School of Education and Public Policy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So why did you want to write this book?
I want to write this book, Brandis, because I know of so many women, black women, who never had a romantic personal relationship.
Lies.
And I've always felt...
Hold on. I wanted to write this book. So now it makes sense. She is not writing it from personal experience. She says she's writing this book because she has heard that black women never had a relationship. First of all, I need some receipts on that. Sweetie, I have known some very grotesque, ugly looking, morbidly obese black women, and even they have had some meaningful relationships. I am not lying. So I call BS right now. Like, she has no credibility with me, but So therefore, she's speaking about a subject that she claims to be an expert about, but she doesn't know from personal experience. Like, how, Sway? So she's saying that she's meeting women that have never had a relationship. I don't know, unless you have had some traumatic experience that have happened to you. I don't understand how that is even possible. I don't know not one black person, not one black woman who has never had a relationship. So I don't believe her on this one.
Very bad about that and sorry about that. And the reason for that, primarily it's because they limited their search to African American men. They never thought that any other men would be attracted to or by them. So they remained single.
You call this also a numbers issue. Why do you say that?
It's a numbers issue. There are far more black men than there are black women. And this starts at age 16. The same thing doesn't happen for whites to age 32. So for a black woman to limit her dating options to African American men by themselves, she has a very good likelihood of remaining single.
What's happening to cause that gap at such a young age, at 16, for black women?
Well, right, it begins with some of the things that happen to young black men. They have higher mortality rates than other groups of men, incarceration rates, things along that line that make it likely that there are far fewer of them.
You document some of the reasons why black women don't date outside of the race. What are some of those sociological reasons?
Based on the social, historical problems that this country has had, the historical relationships between some black men, black women and white men, that's primarily what it is.
Okay. This is probably the first thing I want to comment on. A lot of these women they still want to have connections to the black community. These are the type of women who want to still have their black card. They still want to be invited to the barbecue. They still want to be down, black fists in the air. These are the type of black women that care about what other black people think in reference to them dating white men. And they make terrible girlfriends, terrible partners. And God forbid if the white guy marries her, she's going to make a terrible wife. See, here's my thing. When you sit up here and you focus on slavery and you focus on the stuff that we were never participating in, and I never take on my ancestors' scars as my own. I'm my own person. And the reason why my relationships have always been successful, been very harmonious with white men is because, one, I disassociate from the black community. I have nothing to do with it. I know. Black men are so thirsty. They constantly keep trying to bring me back to the black community. It's because they got low self-esteem. They're very desperate. They're very thirsty. And it's like when you see somebody that want to have anything to do with you, that makes them want you even more. So rejection, ladies, that's one thing. If you want to get men, reject them. They'll love you forever. But anyway, it's like I don't have any ties to that. So race and anything going up, dealing with slavery or Jim Crow, that never comes up in my conversations, ever. Okay. So when you as a black woman are still involved with the black community, the whole thing about oppression and Jim Crow and slavery, but you don't want to talk about the actual slavery that's going on right now in North Africa. Woo, Lord of mercy, it's getting a little chilly in here. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I mean, excuse me, hypocrisy. I'm not interested in you. Okay, please go away. So the thing about it is that this is one of the key reasons why it's been always successful for me, and it's always successful for the very tiny amount of black women and black men who basically just disassociate themselves from the black community. They their own person, like big towel, blacks going their own way, and therefore the whole thing of oh, well, your ancestors used to own my ancestors, so I guess we got to watch out how we talk to each other. It just never comes up. You always know when you are in a good relationship when race rarely comes up unless we're talking about the news, or we're talking about the stupid things that Black Lives Matter is doing, or Antifa. Other than that, the race between that him and I never comes up unless somebody makes it a big deal. So when you're dealing with a liberal, by the way, I'm only speaking as a right winger. As you all see this beautiful blue line flag behind me, I'm on the right. I'm more than a conservative. I'm a right winger, so I'm pretty hardcore on the right side of the political aisle. And so this is the reason why I said race doesn't come up in our conversations. But if you are a liberal, especially if you're a liberal who's a progressive and you're into the things dealing with the Black community, and you love, playing the victim mindset, oh yeah, race is going to come up every day. Race is going to come up all the time. Your white man's going to be asked about Black Lives Matter, and is going to be asked about how does it feel about white privilege and systemic racism, blah, blah, blah. I mean, these are the reason why those relationships do not work. Okay. They don't work. A lot of relationships between white men and Black women don't really work that much because, it's basically being, beat over the head with all this, not white guilt, but I would have to say talking always about race relations when it's not even talked about between interracial couples on the political right.
It's long entrenched, something that's going to be very difficult to change.
You also talk about self-esteem, and you write a little bit about Black women being so-called less desirable. What is that?
Well, what it means is that really in this country, Western society values white women. They are at the top of the pinnacle in terms of beauty. So a Black woman is not going to meet the same standards of beauty as a white woman, because for the most part, Black women aren't blonde and blue-eyed or even very thin. And that tends to be the standard that is most revered.
Okay. Definitely want to talk about that one. I cannot speak for the white men. Well, yes, I can. Let me say this. I think that Black woman name is Lonnie Love. Lonnie Love is probably the first and only Black woman I've known to get a white man and being obese. One of the things about white men that's different than Black men is that they are not fans of fat women. And it is culturally acceptable for Black women to be overweight. This is just the facts. And this is something that white men are not too keen on. And so they prefer women who are in shape or who are thin. And if you really look at it, like if you look at a lot of the women, Serena Williams, David Bowie's, Imani. I'm trying to think of all these Black women who are with white men that are not necessarily politically on the right. If you notice, these women are not obese. They're not fat either. And like I said, Lonnie Love is probably the first Black woman I have ever heard of that it's obese. She's more than fat. She's obese. And she has a white guy. But then he's a cuck. Anyway, he's such a soft soy boy. I mean, they have so many of them on that side of the political spectrum. So yeah, white men just don't want overweight Black women. So that just basically knocks out about a good 65% of Black women. And another thing I have noticed that when I went natural in 1996, I stopped perming my hair and I started to wear braids and keep my hair natural. Now, when I started to get my hair in locks, now right now it's plaited up. If you can tell, these are my locks and they're all plaited up because it's hot outside and I'm very active in the gym. So it's like there's a lot of hair. Once I started going natural, I started getting attention from so many race of men. Mainly white men. And then I started to get from the Latino men, Hispanic men always, of course, and one Japanese guy. So there you have it. So it's like they love natural hair. They love black women that wear their natural hair. When I lived in Germany for 5 years, I was constantly pursued by a lot of German white men and a lot of Russian white men, and Italians are just horny. They go after everybody. So I really can't put them I really can't put them in this equation, but they all love my hair. They all love my hair. So I would have to say that one thing that is a disadvantage for women, particularly for a lot of good white men, they don't like the fact that you're wearing weaves. They don't like the fact that you're wearing a wig or you have different color hair. They like when you have your own hair, and you have to be in shape. You have to keep your body up. They like you to not be fat. And so that is something that's very accepted in the black community. Hence why I don't have nothing to do with y'all. But it's also accepted with black men. Black men don't mind you being obese. It's more than just fat. They don't mind you being obese. And if you notice, and I'm not no shade, but you notice a lot of black men love overweight white women. And these are white women that white men don't want. So there you have it. It's like white men don't want these big old white women. And so those white women know that they're going to be loved from head to toe, girl, by these black men. So, that's the reason why I don't believe that this has anything to do with the standards. I believe that black women, for the most part, put themselves in that standard based upon what they do to their own hair and how they let their bodies get overweight. It's first of all, it's not healthy, and two, it's not pleasing. And if it wasn't for black women, there would not be a fat acceptance movement. But I will say this, and then we're going to move on with the video. I will say that this is some black girl magic going on, and there is nothing I or you or anyone can do anything about it, because I stopped telling traditional women to get their body straight, because a lot of men now are beginning to like a woman with a little bit of pounds on her. Not fat, but they call it thick, THICC. So, to me, thickness is when you're thick, that you're just one cheeseburger away from being fat. So it is what it is. But I've noticed men are not being too picky about the physical appearance of women being fit or thin or in shape. And so I just stopped preaching it, because, hey, they lowered their standards. Now, if that's black woman magic, where it is acceptable in the black culture to look this way, and they have now convinced everybody else that you should accept that, then I don't know. I will never accept morbidly obesity. I will never accept obesity as the norm. So, hate on me if you want to, haters. It will never be something I will co-sign.
So why focus then specifically on the relationships between black women and white men as opposed to black women and any other race?
Because traditionally, black women with white men is the least common relationship. So I was curious, so how is it that men that are at the top of the social hierarchy are getting involved with women that would be at the bottom of the social hierarchy? So that was one of the first reasons for looking at that. There are far more black men married to white women than the reverse pattern. The other thing is that I didn't want to investigate black women married to other men of color, because you don't have the same social, psychological, or historical dynamics to deal with. So those relationships don't have the same aspects going on between them that other white men and black women do.
How is the experience different for younger black women versus older black women, 50s and above?
It's far easier for younger black women to date and marry outside the race than it is for older women. They don't catch as much racism. They may deal with other kinds of microaggressions, but they don't have to deal with some of the problems that their older peers did.
I find this to be if she's talking about black women that are in their 80s or something like that, maybe. But from my understanding, the boomer generation, the latest boomers, if you were in a very liberal area like Berkeley, it was very well respected and honored. From my understanding, of course, I wasn't born during this time, but in the 70s, from my understanding, and a lot of, even though you had the Martin Luther King had died in the late 60s. He was assassinated, and then you had the Black Panther Party becoming on the rise, but then of course Interpol came in. So I guess you had a lot of that going on in the 60s, but in the 70s, there was a lot of this peace and love, happiness, and a lot of that was going on in interracial relationships from what I have studied. Cause you can prove me if wrong. Now, of course, you all can show these outliers with these certain type of interracial marriage, forbidden interracial marriage laws that were in the Hicktown of Virginia or the backwoods of Alabama. Okay, yeah, but for the most part in California and New York and DC and a lot of these areas where they were blue, and when I say blue, I'm talking about liberal, interracial relationships was very accepted. It was just that black women were so loyal to the race that they felt guilty and they will either judge or be self-conscious about it. But whereas now it's more of, you have so many white people who are trying to get the brownie points of showing how woke they are. Of course it's more accepted because you have white people now putting themselves down. It's so crazy. They're putting themselves down like, I am born. These white people talking about something. They are born to hate themselves because they're white. And then of course you got the critical race theory going on, and you got white guilt, white hatred, self-white hatred. All of that's going on to where they feel like they can redeem themselves by being with a black person. And so when you have a lot of these people on the left, they are with black people for cool points, woke points, SJW points. I don't know. I don't really find it to be authentic versus those of us on the right. But, it is what it is.
It seems we're also seeing more of these sort of interracial relationships in the media. For example, I mentioned, at the top of this story, a number of celebrities as well. Is this good for all age groups?
Yes. What winds up happening is that you're seeing more interracial relationships in terms of advertising as well as in terms of some shows out there. We're beginning to put out more positive portrayals of African American women so that it does increase their visibility.
I refuse to see that series Scandal because that did not show a positive light of interracial dating. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was degrading. But girl, black women loved Scandal. They loved themselves some Scandal. That's because they got low self-esteem. You want to be the other woman instead of the main woman. You don't mind being the side chick, because you have low self-worth about yourself. So you really should just stay with black men, you know what I'm saying?
And hopefully, raises their profile in terms of desirability.
So let's talk about some of the stories in your book. You interviewed a number of women, obviously. There's a chapter on dating. We meet a woman named Celeste, who's in her late 20s. Yes. Tell me about her. Who'd she meet?
Well, Celeste was a very interesting young woman. Celeste met a man at work, and she was interesting from the point of view that she was not a person that had trouble finding black men. But what she came to understand was that she had trouble finding black men that were willing to commit to an exclusive relationship. So she had been fairly popular, and because she did have some choice, she had some of her black girlfriends say to her, you better watch it, because you're running out of men. And she kind of was a little choosier than they thought she needed to be. But she said she just couldn't see herself settling for someone just to say she was married. So as it turned out, she met her now, I think they were going to get married, husband at work. And she wasn't initially attracted to him at all. It was just after they had worked together on a project. She said this ordinary white man, she became really interested in.
Now that happens.
It was mutual, and they started to date. And she discovered that they had a lot in common. And eventually she had to tell the black guy that she was dating about, she thought, I'm going to have to tell him about this. And her black boyfriend said, well, I'm not ready to commit. And she knew that, and she knew the reasons for it. But she started thinking, this isn't helping me. So she continued to date her white boyfriend. And that when he was ready to commit, she felt for the first time that, okay, now I know what I was missing. I was missing someone that really wanted me, and me by myself. And I can stop looking, and I can just enjoy this relationship. So that's where I left her.
Yeah. So you talk also about socioeconomic as well as educational status, because black women are often more educated than black men by numbers. And you talk about a couple, Denise and Todd. What do we learn from them?
Well, Denise and Todd were a very interesting couple. First of all, not only do you have the racial issue between them, you have a gap socioeconomically. Todd was from a very, very well-to-do family from Chicago's North Shore. And Denise was not, but she was not from such a lower income background, but given his background, she would have been much lower on the social scale. And he was actually her second white husband. Her first white husband was a guy that she met in college whose family could care whether or not she liked them or not, and she just said they were just redneck country people.
In California?
But she stayed with her first husband long enough to have a child. So then she meets Todd, and Todd was this guy that was
rednecks in California.
I'd say liberal and also pretty urban, and he always had kind of a preference for darker skinned women. And in fact, it was her black woman friend that introduced the two of them. And her friend said, Jamara, I kept telling you, you really need to meet Todd, because I think that the two of you will get along. Well, of course they did. And they did get along, and then she discovered, after the relationship had been going on for a little while, that about his own socioeconomic background. So it's because one day he said to her, he said, let me tell you a little bit about my family. And she's thinking, uh-oh, now I'm going to hear about how, the family really feels. And he took the conversation in a direction she didn't expect. He said to her, no, he said, we probably have a little more than most other people. And so she then goes on to talk about not only how they got, how the relationship unfolded, but about how his family had a very difficult time dealing with her at first. And now essentially she had to teach them how to treat her. But through life adventures and things that happened, now they are all very close, because his family demonstrated to her when her son got in trouble how they were right there for her and didn't treat her son as if he were not part of the family. And then, of course, Todd and she have their own 2 children together, and they've been married now more than 20 years.
More than 20 years.
Okay. This is something else I wanted her to finish her story before I got into this too. Another thing in reference to interracial dating, like I said, it's going to be way more if the white person, like if you're on the left and the white guy is all about being a white member of the Black Lives Matter movement, and he's all about marching and, yes, I have white privilege, I need to bow down. If he's one of those kind of cucks, then, it is what it is. You just got a eunuch who with pale skin. But when you deal with a white man of class, and I'm talking to black women, if you deal with a white man of class, of stature, he's not going to find the music that's associated with the culture to be pleasing, the gossip, the food, the mannerism, none of this is going to be to his liking. And this is why I've always noticed that women who, separate themselves from the culture, separate themselves from the community, and basically be individuals, they are who they are. It's not about them and their blackness. Just like it's not about white people and their whiteness. White people don't go around talking about I'm white this, I'm white that, I'm white, I'm white. They don't do all that. Okay, black people are the one that's doing all that, and so when you make your identity who you're by your skin tone, then that gets on your nerves. Not on your nerves. It gets on other people's nerves, and so you are cutting yourself off from these men who have a certain type of elegant tastes, where they like to go to the opera, or they like to go to plays, they like to go to the countryside, and some of these men love to go fishing, and you got to clean the fish, and they love to go in peace and wilderness, and they like to go camping, and they like to go hiking. It's a totally different world. And if you find this to be torture and you don't find this to be appealing, especially outdoors, the only thing there's one thing I will not do is I'm not doing the skiing. That's where I'm like, nope. I don't go to the Alps, I don't go skiing. I don't deal with snow. That's where I draw the line. I just don't like snow, saying. So there's that. But everything else I can deal with. I love everything else. And so, you have to have this certain amount of class. And so the family is going to see if the mother, especially if the mother loves these things, she's going to want to take you. But if you're the kind of person like, I don't want to go with you, I want to go to a Cardi B concert, that's not going to last long. And the mother's going to constantly talk in her son's ear until he gets rid of you. Because he loves his mother. These men love their mothers. Not like the black community, okay? Mom's word is golden. She knows best. And so, dad's going to like you regardless. But mom, that's the son and his mother's bond is very, very tight. Like the father and his daughter's bond is very, very tight. So depending upon what your taste is in certain type of entertainment, culture, art, music, it will see if you and the mother can do these things together. And if you can do these things with his mom, you are in there. You are really in there. So it doesn't matter. It's kind of hard for the family to not like you if the mother loves you.
And I should probably tell viewers as well, I am a black woman who is married to a white man. Yeah. Before I let you go, quickly, what do you want readers to take away from your book?
Well, the main thing I want readers to take away from my book, I have a message primarily to black women. Please do not limit your search for an eligible to an eligible black man, because the numbers are just not there to support it. Be open to dating outside of the race. Black, white, all those races in between as well. But don't limit your search to all the best childbearing years you have are gone, and then you wind up, and you may possibly wind up by yourself.
Okay, Cheryl Giudice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well. That was okay. Like I said, she can't tell me nothing right now. How would she know? She's never had an experience. She's never had an experience. Look at her. She's never had an experience with a white man. So, girl, you can't tell me nothing. And it looks like, she's biracial herself. So, and that's always the case when, that you're a half breed, you're going to accept yourself being black than anything. So, yeah, I'm just trying, kudos to her husband being married for so long, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what makes you think you're the expert to write two of your only books on this type of subject when clearly you can't speak from personal experience. So yeah, but anyway, that's my opinion. It is what it is. Women in general, and this goes for all races of women, don't limit yourself, but please just be careful. Don't, especially my traditional women, just, you know what to do. Like, don't just go for anybody, and make sure they pass the smell test. And yeah, you know, if you want to see any of my past videos that teach you how to test these men and see what the test they put you through to make sure you don't get the wrong kind, just check my library out on the past 2-3 weeks, and yeah, it'll be good educational material for you. All right, so that's it. This is a little long one, but it will make up for what I haven't uploaded to you guys on yesterday. So without further ado, this is Tree from treeoflogic.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video, and most of all, subscribe, ladies. You know I'm here for you, so be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Later, taters.